Hey, I'm George with the Cool Guys. Unfortunately, we don't have David with us today, but we still have two pretty distinguished guests. We have Wanda Austin and Todd Martin from Columbia Parks and Recreation, and we can't wait to learn more about what's going on in the Columbia area today.
Brought to you by Dick Dyer, Mercedes Benz, the first Mercedes Benz in South Carolina.
People that are coming in and out of our parks as well.
Awesome. And Todd, I know that you had talked about another park and kind of building these parks within Columbia and trying to get land. But one of the main things, especially having our office be on Richland Street, is we're constantly driving by Finley Park and looking at it. And so could you kind of talk to us about the goals of having the renovation at Finley Park and what's expected to take place in the coming years and how long that project will in fact last?
Sure, a exciting project for the city, and it's been really fortunate to work on it as long as I have. The primary goal, the revitalization of Finley Park. We want to respect the original iconic features within the park, such as the fountain feature, and also incorporate community-driven goals in the new construction. The goals that we created during the master plan process include improving ADA circulation and making destinations accessible, providing a unique destination playground, increasing safety and visibility, revitalizing the fountain, waterfalls, and pond, improving connectivity of the pond, constructing new multi-use structures for events and park activation, relocating the band stage away to not project noise into the adjacent neighborhoods, but to project into the center of the city. We want to integrate public art, improve the lawn areas for events, and then preserve the Vista Greenway connection. Those are the goals of the park. The project is under construction now. It is still expected to be complete in the fall of 2025, and it'll be a major transformation out there. Does that answer all the questions? Was there another part to that question?
Yeah, definitely. That answers that question. And
Okay.
and to add to that, for a substantial period of time, you could say Finley Park had been underused and also in another word like misused, I guess, from a consumer standpoint of it had almost just become a park for people to loiter at and not necessarily use the features within it. So it's really great that it's going to be coming to life. But are y'all a part of building a plan then to get people back to the park, not only with doing the new stuff, but how do you plan to really bring the people in and promote it?
Absolutely. That's very important. There's a few things we're going to do. And one of the main things we got to do from a perception standpoint is make the community understand that it's a safe place to come again. Because right now it has that reputation of just not being a safe place to go. We also got to make sure we can maintain what we build. So in the future, it doesn't degrade and become what it has become before we started construction. And then we just got to invest in it. Invest in it for programming, invest in it for the maintenance, and for the operations. Just to kind of go through some of the key ideas that we have for this plan, as far as safety goes, better visibility throughout the park, selective vegetation, clearing, opening up sight lines into the park. There's just so many hidden spaces right now in the park that it's just not a safe urban space. We need programming, and it needs to be consistent. It has to be throughout the day, different hours, so people are constantly coming and energizing that park. We spoke with USC's hospitality school, have a great resource here in town. And we're going to have an ongoing conversation with them as this park opens, hoping to bring in some of their interns to help us work. We have a hospitality office as you enter the park from the Vista District. We'll have stuff that's like rentals, like remote control sailboats for the pond. We have a roller skating area around the oval event line. We'll rent roller skates. Just little things, but they add up, and they provide entrance, and they provide a lot of excitement, and people want to come to the park to experience that. We'll have park rangers on site If you remember where the old Jazz Cafe is located, we're converting that into a park ranger building, so they'll have their office there on site and great eyes on the park. From that point in the park, you can really see the park really well. That'll help a lot, I believe. And again, I mentioned the hospitality staff at the other end of the park on the bottom portion. The lighting will be key to have LED lighting throughout the park. One of the major themes in the new park is this lantern, and we've cladded the old Loffelstein-esque wall, if you're familiar, the S-curve wall, if you're familiar with that, to become this piece of art in the park. And we call it the lantern. And all of the architecture, the stage, the amenity, shelter building, all of that reflects and bounces off of that to have this cohesive design, but it's very bright at night, so it'll light up the park. We're going to bring in cameras at different locations in the park and call boxes as well. Again, just creating that safe and welcoming atmosphere so people feel comfortable enough to come back to Findlay Park.
Sure.
And then, sustainable, maintenance plans, creating a planting palette full of native plants that are easier to maintain, improving the fountain and the pond so that it's easier to maintain in the future, and creating. Right now, there's areas of the park that are just very hard to maintain on the different slopes, very hard to get to. We've created a new plan that is easier to maintain it, if that makes sense.
Definitely, since the park kind of sits down within where water could.
Right. But programming is going to be really, really important. And with the stage being built into the hillside and projecting away from the neighborhood, that's going to allow us to have more concerts and events out there. We have this oval, we call the event oval in front of the stage, and it's a wide path that allows event setup, like big semi trucks can come in there and set up for the stage and then get out. But when we're not utilizing it for concerts, it can be utilized for roller skating, food truck rallies, you name it. We even thought about getting these little adult hot rod tricycles and having races around the oval. Just, quirky stuff, but creative ways to keep it programmed, if that makes sense.
And with everything, but in Columbia specifically, everybody wants stuff to get better. They want it to continue to grow, but at the same time, they want it to grow without paying anything for it to happen. So I know you probably don't know the numbers off the top of your head, and I'm not going to ask that, but who is funding for the parks to kind of be able to do this project?
Findlay Park in general?
Yes.
Is that one? Yeah. So it's using hospitality funding.
Okay.
It's using general fund.
Mm-hmm.
It's using some money we got from the state. And then there's a bond that was issued. And the bond was issued so that they're only paying it off for 5 years, I believe. So it's not like this huge 30-year bond that we're paying for this park for 30 years. We can pay for it, and then we can focus on other. There's so many different things we need to do throughout the city, as we all know. So we won't be paying for Findlay for the next 30 years. If that makes sense.
And will there be a charge for people to come into Findlay Park once it's done, or is it just going to be free for anybody to use?
No, it's free. It's a public park. It'll be free.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Wanda and Todd, I can't thank y'all enough for joining today. And I know David wishes he could be here, but especially him and I, since we're right near the park, we drive by it almost every single time we're in Columbia. So we're excited for it to be finished is the best way to put it. We can't wait to see what it entails. And we know that Columbia is definitely excited that park's going to be coming back to life.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much for your interest.
Awesome.
Episode of The Coal Guys is sponsored by Bell Carrington, Price & Gregg. Bell Carrington is our choice for the best real estate attorneys in town. They are highly communicative and make sure that the closing process is as smooth as possible. With offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, they can handle any of your real estate finance, eminent domain, financial services litigation, and litigation needs. Call their Columbia SC office today at 803-509-5078.